Hello.
Oh,
This is the last By the Angel Along live show for a long time.
I
Because
totally wore the wings because it was By the Angel Along. Totally not because I'm cold.
you're adorable.
Totally not because I'm cold.
Yeah, I don't know when the next Shadowhunters book is, and people wanted to read this, so this happened. I will say I'm gonna have to retire my paperback arc because I've read it twice now and the gold is starting to wear off. So I think I'm gonna transfer my tabs to my hardback arc and put my tabs in there instead. I don't know why I've got a random one here. That doesn't go there. I don't know if anyone's actually gonna come to this one because obviously it's not Shadowhunters, so not everyone wanted to join in, which is very fair because it's not Shadowhunters. But what did you rate it?
Am I starting?
Yeah.
I rated it a 3. I'm sorry.
I rated it like a 3.5.
I'll take that. Not to be different, but I gave it a 5 both times I read it.
I would be concerned if you didn't.
I was very worried when I read it back in June last year when I first got this arc. I was terrified I wasn't going to like it because I was like, it's not Shadowhunters or Magisterium. Like that's all I've ever read from Cassie. What if I don't like these characters? What if I don't like the writing style of her first solo non-Shadowhunters book? And I was very pleasantly surprised by loving it. So I'm really glad. And like rereading it held up for me, which I'm glad about. I am very sad you didn't like it as much, but it happens. It's going to be an interesting live show.
I didn't hate it.
No.
Well, when I say interesting live show, I mean, I genuinely do mean that because it's always interesting when you can have an actual conversation rather just be like, I loved this, so did I love this, so did I.
Yeah.
Cool too, but it's nice to see different opinions, even if it's going to hurt me a little bit.
I'm not going to hurt you. Like, just didn't love the book.
Very fair. So my first thing was I really hated how Kel was just taken as a kid from the only home he's known and not given any explanation, made to think like you've just got to do this one thing and then you can go back, and then does this one thing. Oh no, you can't go back. Like the king said you got to stay. Like you knew that. Don't lie to the kid.
And it's even worse because, sorry to interrupt you there. It's even worse because then you find out that the guy who took him had the same thing happen to him. And it's like, absolutely not. Go away.
Yeah. So I thought this the first time I read it. The whole time I was like, is he ever going to see his friend from there again? And you don't see him. And I'm curious to see if we will ever see him or if that is it. Like, if we'll come across it. Like, come across him.
I thought the same. I didn't know if we were getting into that type of talk again. But I do have a theory that can't be the last time we've seen the little friend, because they made such a hoo-ha at the beginning. And I know what Cassandra Clare's like with her writing. Everyone you ever meet is going to be important.
And I feel like, so this is going into theory territory because it's in my brain right now and I will forget it. I feel like throughout, there is constant mentions of him thinking about how if he hadn't have ended up being the sword catcher, he would have ended up a criminal. He probably would have been working for the Ragpicker King. I think he's going to, because obviously he's going to be helping out the Ragpicker King now. like little partnership going on there. I do think he's going to end up bumping into his friend. I hope he does. But
yeah,
like there's no way that can be it.
No.
Cassie doesn't do that. The only way we say bye to a character is if they die and you see them die.
Well, that's debatable territory.
Okay, all right, yeah. That's a fair point.
We've not learned from Mortal Instruments.
I'm also really intrigued about the fact that like creatures have just vanished from this world, and I'm wondering if they'll come back at any point. Because it mentions at the beginning and then near the end about how there used to be creatures and then creatures have vanished. And I think it also mentions in, the start of the chapters, it has those little snippets from like their history books.
Yeah.
One of them mentions it as well. And I'm like, I want to see the creatures. Like the first talk of it is on page 29. Like, let me find it. Well, apparently I didn't put a tab in for that, even though I made a note of it. Nope. Oh yeah. It had always seemed one of the greatest tragedies of the Sundering to him that not only had the world lost almost all magic, but that creatures like phoenixes and dragons, manticores and basilisks had vanished overnight. And then it mentions it again later on in the book somewhere. And I'm like, I want them back. I want there to be magical creatures back.
Yeah.
It seems weird that it's mentioned. Yeah. In the sense of like, if it's mentioned twice, that feels intentional. That's not just in like a, hey, this is a world building thing. That's intentional, as in like, are we just going to randomly find a magical creature at some point in like book 3 or something?
Yeah. I want it to be a dinosaur egg like in Christmasaurus. I do have notes. I'm looking through the notes. I find it really interesting in the beginning how Connor very much deflects all marriage alliance talk. And I also I hate how, I know it's the same with almost all like fantasy books with royalty, but like I hate how obviously in the earlier bits before his dad is like locked away and like a little bit crazy, how he's like, oh, like we would never force you to marry someone, but now his dad's not really around and not there to enforce that, and now they're like throwing like documents of like different people he could marry. Although I do appreciate that it's not just like princesses. There was like a couple of princesses in there, and I do very much love how it's normal and not frowned upon.
That's what I kind of liked, kind of the way the story were going, that there was kind of like, there wasn't like set rules of like normality rules. Like sometimes you do get into a fantasy book and like, well, it makes no sense for like homophobia to be in here. You've got like people with different you've got different species in this book. It doesn't make sense. But it's nice to see particularly a book that focuses heavily on royalty, not focused such on a breeding line, because I think there's even like a throwaway comment of, well, if you pick a prince and we need an heir, we'll just find a random woman who'll carry your child.
Yeah. Which I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There was one thing, and I actually spoke to Ash about this one. It's just a throwaway comment, and it's so silly, but it really annoyed me when he's threatening, I cannot remember his name. Oh my god, what's his name? I need to look at. Hang on a sec. It's on page 177. Meryn. When he's like fully like threatening Meryn, and Meryn's like exact words was, "There was no plan to harm you, I swear it. I'm a kind person, I don't even eat meat."
Oh yeah.
Acting like if you do eat meat, you're not a kind person. I know it's probably not meant that way, but it like rubbed me up the wrong way because I was like, and I was like fully delving onto Google trying to figure out if Cass is a vegetarian.
It was even funny because she moaned about this to me, a vegetarian.
Yeah.
I have no issue with people being vegetarians or vegans. Like, you do you. But when you try and act all high and mighty over it, which I know there are people, obviously it's not all vegetarians and vegans.
I am not one of them. I do not do that.
But there are some out there that do act like they're better than you because I don't eat any animal products. And it just really rubbed me up the wrong way. And it really annoyed me. I instantly disliked Merrin after that.
We had a conversation about that as well because I said, like, was that in that? I think that was the intention. It was like that brought him, because throughout the book you kind of get that vibe from him of like, I don't think I'm better than you in the sense of I don't think I'm higher than you in this, but I think that my like intellect is higher than you. And that's the kind of vibe I got from that dude throughout the entire book, is like, well, your opinion's wrong, but I'm just going to let you have it anyway. And it was like, fuck you, dude.
Like, I feel like Merrin, he's literally a poisoner. He cannot be on his high horse. He literally makes poisons for the Ragpicker King.
Yeah.
I didn't really particularly like that. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of Merrin anyway. At all.
Then there was that weird kind of kiss they had.
Yeah. I don't know where that came from.
I know, I remember reading that going, is that going to be a thing? And then it was never mentioned again. And I thought, what? It seemed to just come out of nowhere and then make no sense to the plot other than, like, because like it wasn't as if Kel had said about an attraction to him. It was just like, it just seemed to be like that was Kel's response.
Crack theory, surprise love interest.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I mean, I'm here for because like one of like a couple of notes later, I've just got, it's so obvious that Antonetta is in love with Kel and not Connor. Kel is so certain that she's had this massive crush on Connor for life, and it's like, no, her mum wants her to marry Connor to get high standing, and she would marry Connor so that she's clever. I love Antonetta and I cannot wait to love her. Her reasoning behind going along with it all those years is because if she marries Connor, she doesn't lose the ability to inherit her charter, like her family's charter, which, yes, girl, get it.
Yeah.
But she's very, very clearly in love with Kel.
Yeah.
I think Kel spends a good majority of this book completely clueless. I think that's also why I felt clueless, is because I read most of the book, and from Kel's point of view, you're just like, what is going on? And it's because Kel has no idea what's going on.
Like, he didn't even know that Connor had got himself into 10,000 crowns of debt.
Yeah. And I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. What I was going to say was, it's really bad that you, as a bodyguard, essentially, like, you are supposed to know exactly what he does. How the hell do you manage? I mean, I know that it's not just like that he got into debt. It was done in a very roundabout way, but still, like, surely you know something.
Like, you would sort of figure out that he's got tabs in all these different places, and those tabs aren't being paid. So on their own, that's not going to be a lot. But I mean, what's his name? Not the Ragpicker King, the other one.
Oh, I can't remember. Did it begin with a B?
Possibly, and that's the only name I don't seem to have put down here. But anyway, the other one.
Yeah.
That is really clever. I mean, I don't think it was his idea, if I remember rightly. It wasn't his idea to do it.
Beck.
Huh?
Is it Beck?
Beck. Prosper Beck. Yes.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, but like, it wasn't even his idea, but it's smart because there's nothing lawfully wrong with doing that.
No.
And it's smart. But how did Kel not figure out that he was getting himself into debt?
My question is, as well, just because I'm curious about things like this, if he's done it to Connor, has he done it to other people, and what did they do? Because that's the story I want to hear.
Yeah.
Like, what other royals? Surely with the amount of parties that Connor's mum throws, there's got to be some debt there somewhere. But Connor is also an idiot, because instead of asking for help, he's like, no, I can deal with this. Let's take, like, we're betrothed now. I'm going to take the dowry and use it to pay up. Idiot. Stop it.
Can we also talk about that marriage?
Huh?
Go on, Ash.
Ash first. Okay.
Yeah. All I said was he was such a wally.
Oh.
That's why I was silent, because I was like, there's no point in me saying this again.
I said, can we also talk about that marriage pact where they didn't read the fine print? The fine print matters the most, and they didn't read it.
They didn't read the fine print, but also if he hadn't have kept it a secret, if it had been known, that whole public thing wouldn't have happened, where they were basically embarrassed.
Yeah.
And they tricked them by bringing the kid instead.
Yeah.
Also, because the kid ended up dead.
Can we I felt so sorry for that child.
Yeah.
Because, like, she just looked like she was, like, the happiest little girl. And then, like, no. Like,
I very much appreciate Kel trying to be such a lovely person and welcoming her as best he could. And Connor, bless him, he tried, but he didn't stop his friends from trying to embarrass her.
Oh. No.
I love that Lynn stepped in there and embarrassed herself instead. She was like, no, I'm not letting this happen to this kid. I'll do it. I'm used to being ashamed for everyone.
And the bodyguard as well really broke my heart.
Huh?
The bodyguard of the young girl as well really broke my heart.
Like, I didn't like her, but she loved that kid.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's the one that brought the kid. So
I really liked her, because, like, I thought that she was the only real one in, other than, like, our two main characters. I think that she was the only real one in the book. And while, like, she brought the kid, that was her duty. She had no choice.
Yeah.
But what did she say to get them to let her take the kid instead of the other princess that he thought he was going to be marrying? Because she's the one who fed back that information. But I don't really feel too sorry for her.
Yeah, but we also don't know exactly what happened behind closed doors. We only get what she says, and we get very limited scenes with her. So we don't technically know if it was her choice or what.
Yeah.
Let's be real. If it's royalty, she probably didn't have much choice.
Yeah.
I feel like it's based on how she's communicated back to the royalty on what's happened. Because I feel like maybe if she's worded it a certain way, because she probably could have, like, not made that as bad as it seemed. But I will say, like, Kel needs to not be stabbed.
Yeah.
When he got stabbed, I was like, oh my God, he's like a POV character. You can't kill him. Stop that. And then Lynn came to the rescue. I was like, okay, it's fine. Lynn's there, best decision. But, oh no, she shouldn't be practicing, like, medicine because she's a woman. Hated them so much. Like,
it's just,
I love Lynn.
I had an up and down relationship with Lynn, I'll admit. There was moments she really infuriated me, and I was just like, come on, don't be that. You're trying to prove that you're not who they're saying you are by them making yourself do things that they expect you to do. I was really losing my rag with her because they'd be like, sometimes it's like, yes, finally it's clicked in, and then she'd go back and do something really stupid, and it infuriated me. I mean, but yes, Kel, Connor also need to stop getting themselves injured. Every other chapter, one of them was injured.
Yeah. Like, you can sort of understand it with Kel because, you know, he is supposed to be the sword catcher. But he's supposed to be the sword catcher. Why is Connor getting hurt?
Yeah, he's supposed to be the sword catcher for when Connor is there. But he seems to be getting stabbed when Connor isn't there.
They are both Wallies.
Yeah.
But can we appreciate how sassy Lynn is with them both?
Oh, yeah, she takes no shit.
I absolutely love how she handles both of them. But also, I love how, like, Connor's like, wait, you're not like, am I attracted to you? You're not acting the way everyone else acts. It's very much literally that is how he sees her, which she kind of is. But I love how, like, throughout the whole thing, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, this, and this. But all of her motivations is to find a cure for her friend.
Yeah.
And they're the sort of friends you want in your life.
Yeah.
I also really appreciated, like, she did not care at all. She was like, I do not care what you do, who you are. I'm going to do this my way. You're going to sit down and shut up. I don't care if you don't want to. This is my world. Sit down, shut up.
And I love how she just, like, rips her granddad a new one as well.
That's the thing. That's why I felt sorry for her granddad, because he was like, it was not bad enough that I've got to deal with the two idiots at the castle. I've then got to come back here and deal with you. And then by the time I've finished dealing with you, those two idiots have got themselves in trouble again. I can't win.
Look, he signed up for that job. He decided he wanted that job. That's his own, like, no, I have no sympathy for that dude. That dude was, like, sus as fuck.
He not only chose to do that job, but he also, like, abandoned his newly orphaned grandchildren. Like, dude, you are their only family and you've just said no. My job's important. No, stop that. Can we appreciate Kel poison himself to get Jared to agree to his
How did you know which one I was going to drink? Well, I didn't. That's why I poisoned them both. Oh, well, did you? Really? That was the genius idea of the room, was it?
I was at the gym when listening to that bit, and I just looked around, like, and no one in the gym knows what I'm doing, and I just went, and then I looked around and was like, if anyone's looked at me, they're going to think I'm bizarre, like, just, like, annoyed and, like, on the weight, like, just sitting on the weight machine like this, like, what the hell's going on? Like,
I spent the majority of the book going like this.
He's so stupid and I love him.
I think I've just connected why I didn't connect with this book. Do you see what I did there? And I think it's because, so Cassie's really good at writing characters that do awful things and bad decisions.
Yes.
And, like, I like, don't get me wrong, there's a few books that I've not read, but all of her characters, you just kind of get really, really stressed out because most of the time they just do shit. I'm going to talk about Julian because boy's an idiot.
Yes.
And like she's really good at writing characters who just don't think and do shit that's stupid. And I think the disconnect with me was I'm used to her writing that in our world, but it feels as if in this world they should have had their shit together a little bit more.
Yeah.
And because of that, it just disconnected the world from me because I'm like, surely these kids have been taught something.
Yeah.
And they haven't been taught well enough and they're doing stupid shit. Don't get me wrong. Kel, I think the poison thing was actually like a stroke of genius in some senses. At the same time, it's like really, really dumb because it's like you're just trusting this dude. You don't know him. What? But I think that's one of the things was I was sat there and I was like, these characters are so Cassie, but because I'm so used to Cassie characters being in a world that I know very, very well, aka our world just with a bit of magic, excuse me. I think that's where the disconnect came from me in this book, because like it felt like they were kind of a little bit out of place.
Yeah. I will say though, it's really funny because we can't exactly be like, oh, it's Kel's upbringing, because he literally had the exact same upbringing as Connor.
Yeah.
Like they literally had the same teachers and everything. Wherever Connor went, Kel went. Whatever Connor learned, Kel learned. So that's on the royal teachers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely agree. I think part of the reason why I think I didn't connect to this book is because of the fact that these characters would have suited a Shadowhunter world, but they don't seem to suit this type of world. You would think that because they are constantly at risk, they are very well aware of what they've got to say and what they've got to do and what they can't do and what they can do. They just feel a bit too like loose end for the world that they're in and the situation they're in, and they feel very young.
I also think that Lynn was the only one who didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
I feel like Lynn felt very much like she was grounded in this world. And I don't know if that's because she was very, very othered. And like it was like the way that she wrote like that, like Lynn's people was really wonderfully done. But I feel as if like Lynn felt very grounded in the world. And I don't know if it's because there was the class difference between them as well. But it very much felt like, and I don't know if it's just because it's a Cassie male. Because it was a like, especially Connor. I'm not saying Kel, but especially Connor. Connor felt like he had very much like an arrogant Arendelle type of vibe, which don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed reading the Herondales. I've read most of her books. I'm a few out, but I do feel as if like there's a time and a place, and maybe learn how to write a different type of character. Not entirely. I still enjoyed it. I don't I'm sorry.
I will say, like, I feel like she's much better at writing female characters. And I say that we're going to pretend Clary doesn't exist in this. Because Clary and Mortal Instruments, no. We're not talking about you. But, like, Lynn very much reminds me of Isabel, in the sense that she does not care what anyone thinks. She will do what she has to keep the ones she loves safe and basically do what she wants.
She reminds me more of Emma, actually.
Emma's not as smart with it, though.
No, I don't. Well, that's the only thing I think is Emma's more warrior than brains, whereas I think Lynn is more brains than warrior.
Yeah, but like I did notice how when she's actually writing about like the different classes, the royalty very much remind me of like when we're talking about like, think about Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. In the Shadowhunter Academy, you've got the dregs, which would be Lynn's people.
Yeah.
And then the actual born into being a Shadowhunter, which are the royalty. But I feel like she's flipped it, because when you look at the royalty, women are allowed to be like the head of the family, like the owner of the charter. And when you look at Lynn's people, women can't basically do anything.
Yeah.
And they're like seen upon as like the dregs.
Can I also say, just to kind of like bring a point up, because obviously her friend who's sick, I can't remember if it's a family member or not, but like,
I think it's just her friend.
Yeah. Can we appreciate how intelligent that girl is? Because she was like, I'm going to learn, like, she was like, it was like, here, learn how to sew. And she was like, cool, I'm going to learn how to sew. Oh, I'm good at this. I'm going to make sure that no one can live without me, and becomes like one of the best seamstresses. And I'm like, that's the kind of intelligence you want, like that really quiet, like everyone under, like just keeps her like at the back of their mind, but also like underestimates her like perfection.
But yeah, and one thing I will say, I hated, there was when the boys were hanging out with their friends and Reverge made a comment about he wanted to marry Antonetta just to have loads of babies. It's like, sorry, does she not get a say in this? Absolutely not. Stop that. But then later on, Oren, who's the watcher person that Lynn rejected basically years ago, when he was dancing with her, his reason for wanting to marry her is to basically fix her, because women shouldn't be like that. Women shouldn't be physicians. Women stay at home. Like, absolutely not. Stop that.
It's definitely very weird going from a series that Cassie's written where women are very like headstrong and live in a world where they're highly respected, to a world where they're now not and they're second-class citizens.
But even even when you think back at like Infernal Devices, they were very like, and obviously I know that was like Victorian England, but like they were also very much like, we don't want a woman as the head of a thing and stuff like that. So actually, and a lot of the time you heard that, like especially with like Alec and Isabel's mother, like she was high, but at the same time she was not as high as her husband. And I think, not to shit on her writing, but I think that there is very much like that. There is the patriarchy in this. And I mean, I've had conversations about patriarchal things today with Becca about completely different things. And like, I think that there's a good time and a bad time. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I do feel as if there is very much a very strong patriarchal society in Cassie's books when she builds them, in the sense at the point they're going, like she builds like girls who are underdogs and girls who have to fight for their place. And I feel like that's something that Cassie semi-prides herself on. And do I agree with it having to be in absolutely every single series? No. Is it a bad thing? Also no. But I do,
like, I feel like, sorry.
No, go on.
I feel like it wouldn't be so bad if maybe like out of Lynn and Antonetta, one of them had to deal with that and one of them didn't. But instead, in a sense, both of them do, because obviously Antonetta had to be brought into society. So it's very much a old school England like thing where you're like brought out into society, not just England, but you know what I mean? Like where you're like brought out into society and then you're of a marriageable age and eligible and whatnot. But she could have just not had that.
Yeah, it's the same as like we were talking earlier about like homophobia and stuff like that. Like she doesn't have that built into her world. Why, like, and I get that like you want your work to be feminist and you want your work to be like overcoming things. Works can be feminist without being like aggressive against the patriarchy. Like like there are different ways of being feminist.
And like it's different with the Shadowhunter series, because obviously with that, it's set in our world. So you sort of expect there to be a little bit of that in those books. But this is a fully fantasy world. You can literally do anything and you choose to still put it in there.
Yeah. And I think that one of the reasons she might have is because it's safe, in the sense of we know those types, of royalty, we know those types of societies. And I think one of the things that Cassie probably doesn't think about is the fact that, let's be real, the majority of her demographic is probably going to be female.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we wouldn't care if there wasn't that that societal expectation.
No.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to see something a little bit more new and revolutionary.
Yeah.
It would be nice to see a headstrong female character that's not brought down constantly by the fact that she's a female and more through other factors happening in that world. I can understand adding kind of like class divides in a book, because that's always, in the nicest way, whenever there's money, there's always going to be a class divide. But there doesn't necessarily need to be such a kind of anti-woman logic in a fantasy world. You can have that this woman has this ability, but it is stuck and kind of hindered by something else. It doesn't have to be because she's a woman. And it is sometimes you read that in a book and you feel exhausted because you're like, yeah, I've just had a really shit day at work where I've been talked down to because I'm a woman, and now I'm going and reading about it in a book that's meant to be my escape.
Yeah.
And I also think that like there are times and places. So I'm reading Jade City at the moment, and there's been one going around on Twitter about how in the first 50 pages there's not a woman. A woman doesn't appear until like a few chapters in, and then when she does, it's very derogatory. And then by the time there's an actual woman who appears in it as a POV, this person who read it was like, "No, I'm out. You've already taken too long." And I'm like, but it's very obviously based on like a certain like culture. It's very obvious that this is from one sense. It's also looking at very, very obvious like gang related things, and it's like I'm not far into the book. I'm only like 150 pages in, and already I can see that this book has meaning behind it, and it is based on some form of truth, if not like it's not based in our world or anything like that, but you can see what it's based on. And I think
I get
the reason that book works in the way that we have like the aggression against the women is because at some point this is going to be like shown a reason why. But just because I think that if it has a reason to, then yes. But if there's no reason to just be misogynistic for no reason, why are we being misogynistic for no reason?
Yeah, it's similar to like The Ruin of Kings. It's my favorite series ever. And in Kieran's point of view and his city he's from, they're very kind of anti-women. But then from Janelle's point of view, women are the leaders of their culture, of their city, of their town, whatever. They are the headstrong people. So it's clearly like an opposite divide, which would be interesting to see if the rest of the books in the series of Swordcatcher show what life is like in other places and see if there is a difference in how they run their run their civilization in a way, and see if they run their ethics very differently, and if that plays into why she's introduced this kind of system of hindering women.
It's also going to be really interesting, the repercussions of Lynn saying yes to the "Are you the reborn goddess?"
That was my favorite thing.
Can we talk about how she knew the explosion was going to happen and timed it perfectly?
I was like, this book is just full of jokers. This book is just full of people who are just like winging it. The entire book was winging it.
Yeah.
I also appreciated how one of the ambassadors was really going for it with his hatred of like Lynn's people, like the Ashkar, and Connor fully was like, stop that. Absolutely not. He like stopped that right there and like defended them. And I don't think it's completely because he's clearly got feelings for Lynn, but he's grown up with Lynn's grandfather. He knows. And like with any group of people, you're going to get people that are good and you're going to get people that are bad. Like, don't just be like, oh, they're all bad because they used to do magic. Like, no, stop that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that Connor, a prince, defended them.
It was one of the only things that he did right in this book.
I absolutely hate that the one like together moment that his dad had was to be like, why have you done this? You've disgraced us. You're going to be whipped.
Yeah, and that was really hard.
Like, yeah, whipped to the point, like, and I appreciate that the Queen made sure Lynn came, because Lynn would be discreet and Lynn had helped Kel, but she still was like, make sure it doesn't scar. No, who cares about scarring? Make sure he lives.
I also really appreciate, but I agree that was shit. But I really appreciated that she turned around. She was like, I get that you need to, like, I know that you're the best. I get that if I'm hovering, it's not going to make you like, it's going to make you more twitchy. Like, this isn't how it is. I'm going to leave you to do it. This is my demands. And then when Lynn went, there's going to be scarring, she was like, just try and keep it to a minimal. And I was like, I appreciate that, like, what she said was really shit, but like, she understood, like, hey, this isn't my speciality, and she just went, I leave it in your hands.
I think the Queen's incredibly intelligent.
Yeah. And the fact that they also made sure that there was like clean water for her to wash her hands and things like that, whereas like the court physician would just have put some leeches on him.
Yeah.
Like, there is a very clear reason why, even though the Ashkara looked down upon, there's a very clear reason why people tend to go to them for their medicine.
Yeah.
Because they're more likely to actually get better rather than worse.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing what other. Also, when he didn't want the like morphine type thing because he wanted to remember the pain to stay angry. I was like, Connor, no.
Petty, you know, like petty bitch, but I relate.
Also, can we appreciate that Antonetta, the moment her mum's like, just wear what you want, you're never gonna marry Connor, she comes out in the like most elaborate, like revealing clothes she can get away with. I'm like, girl, I love this girl.
When she had to defend her mother, that was when I was like, go on, love. When she was like, I've been taking sword lessons because there is no way in hell I am allowing any man to beat me in anything. So I have become the best at being a swordswoman. And then she's having to defend her mother, who's been adamant against anything not female.
Yeah. Antonetta and Lynn are easily my favourite characters. Like, they're just better.
The thing is, that's why I think I don't want her to end up with Kel, because I think he is too obtuse and he spent so much kind of like faffing around and being a bit of a dick for simple being a dick's sake, and she deserves a lot better. I really wanted to turn around and go, do you know, actually, no, I'm not interested.
But I think that what she's going to do is she's going to do very much a Cassie thing of like, hey, this is the dickish character. Hey, in 3 books' time, he's actually quite nice and he had reasons behind his dickishness.
Yeah.
See, I don't think Kel's not a bad person. He's just not the smartest person.
No.
He's not.
Which is why I think I really, really liked the Rag Picker King. Because as soon as he came in, he was like, are you dumb? It was actually constant, like.
Yeah, I'm excited to get more of the Rag Picker King, because obviously we're gonna be, because the second, if I remember rightly, the second book is called The Rag Picker King.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're gonna see more of that side over the royalty side. Obviously we're still gonna see like Connor and Kel and that, but obviously with Kel and Lynn both working with the Rag Picker King, like, I'm excited to see more from that side. I can't remember her name, but the one that basically kidnapped him the first time to take him to the Rag Picker King, I love her. She cracks me up. She's just like,
I don't know.
I can't remember what her name is. I need to like make a list of all the names in this. One thing I will say, like, do you know what? I wrote a note saying foreshadowing and then didn't write anything else other than the page number, and I need to know what I wrote that for. What was foreshadowing, Becca? What?
Yeah.
Don't just say it. Oh, yeah. Huh?
Is the name Jian?
Possibly. Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Oh.
It probably is. So when Vienne was like, I will not return to Sarth unless Louisa does. I am not only her guard, I have sworn an oath to protect her that will last as long as she lives. Where she goes, I go. And I was like, because obviously this time round was a reread for me, I was like, oh, it's foreshadowing a little bit. I wonder if I can't remember if Cassie said she's a planner or a pantser. And I'm curious to see if she knew at this point she was going to kill them both. And it was actual foreshadowing or accidental foreshadowing.
Knowing Kelsey, she'll have known who she was going to kill them before she'd even drafted the book. She'll have picked the name and she'll have gone dead, alive, dead, alive.
I will say one thing I really did like when Connor is with Lynn and is fully like, as long as I owe you, I cannot forget it. I think of you, of the debt I owe you, and I cannot rid my mind of the thoughts. It is like a fever. Like, I'm here for those two to happen. I need that.
But yes.
Yeah. Like, I need it. I need that. That's my one thing for this series. I need Connor and Lynn. What other notes do I have? I've already talked about that. One of my notes is just poor Louisa with the sad face. And then I've put here, Vienne blaming Connor for Louisa being there is a joke. They're the one trying to get some petty revenge by bringing the child.
Yeah.
Like, she fully was like, it's your fault. It's like, no, you chose which princess got brought. And if the older one who he thought he was marrying was there, she might have been able to defend herself.
Yeah, like in the nicest way, they chose to send a child, knowing damn well that the consequences it would cause within the civil unrest society it is already, and they've sent a child, child bride, who they know that the king can't marry until reaches legal age. Of course, there's a chance she's going to get killed.
I will say, I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that the deal is that they will marry, but not yet.
Yeah,
because very much not here for that type of fantasy. I didn't think Cassie would do that type of fantasy, but
no,
she's never done adult fantasy before, so I didn't know. But yeah, like, I mean, we don't know how the Sarth, like, how they, like, if they train their women to be able to, like, fight and defend themselves. We don't really know much about Sarth, and I'm guessing we're going to find out because they're going to probably want to go to war now that, you know, their princess went there. But it'll be interesting to see, and then see if the other princess had actually gone there, would the princess have been killed?
It's going to be something interesting because obviously they made this big thing about her dancing and saying that she was very, very, like, a very, very good dancer. It would be interesting to see if there was like a fight dance type thing. Like, I'm not talking like the new Jumanji type fight dancing, but like like almost like a martial art type dancing.
Yeah,
that might be interesting to see.
Yeah, but that is all the notes I have. We've gone through all the notes. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I have missed.
I don't think so. I think the only other thing I had with this book was there was 26 chapters in a 700-page book, Cassie. Like, what the hell?
My edition's 597. I don't know if that's just because it's the paperback arc.
Oh, sorry, it's 604 pages. So 26 chapters in 604 pages.
Yeah, I will say I'm not a fan of doing that.
Yeah. My only other thing is, let's be real, all of Connor's friends are twats.
Yeah.
I
don't like them. Yeah.
Every single one apart from Cal. I was like, you could go die in a ditch and I wouldn't be upset.
Yeah.
I will appreciate. I like how like they're not called brothels in this place, like in this world, but I can't remember what they're called. But I like how they're not seen as like a bad place to go. Like, they're a quite popular place. and like it's not you're not sure, you don't have to go there in secret. And like, I mean, Antonetta goes as well. She doesn't do anything other than just enjoy the shows that they put on, but like it's not, but it's not she's not looked down upon for being in that place. They're not seen as a bad
they seem
I really appreciate that.
They definitely seem to heavily praise the places, and they do talk about how hard it must be to work there and do the job they do, but at the same time that they make money. That is, they make good money. They charge good prices. So it was nice to see that was handled, because to introduce that into a fantasy world is always a bit So to introduce it in a way that seems more ethical.
Yeah, it shows a difference between a female author and a male author, because like I'm going to use Game of Thrones as an example.
Yeah,
they are very much like shamed upon if you work there, and they're looked down upon if you go there. You have to be all secretive about it.
But even, let's be real, Leigh Bardugo.
Yeah.
In Six of Crows.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in there.
Yeah, so it's not always just like the male authors that do it, but I appreciate that she didn't write it that way. Go Cassie. But yeah, that's the only other thing I can think of. But yeah, I'm excited to see more of the Ragpicker King, because I feel like he's going to be a really interesting character, and I hope that the next book is not just tricking us into thinking it's going to be about him and it's actually not. Because I want more from him.
I would say that I think would be the only reason I would be continuing the series, is to read about the Ragpicker King, because he is the only character I seemed really interested in. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Lynn enough, I enjoyed Connor enough, and I enjoyed Kel enough, but the Ragpicker King opened a door for me that I was like, right, there's something here that's making my tingly senses go. There's something here that's making me want more from this series.
Interestingly enough, yes, I want to see more from this, and I will. Like, it was a 3. I still am potentially going to probably pick up book 2. But I'm more interested in what's going on with the king.
Yeah,
the actual king, because it feels very much like Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, where you had someone whispering in his ear for so long, and I just want him to just, and I want to know what's made him go nuts.
It also feels very Frodo Glassy.
And also, is it something that can be reversed? Like, is it like a tonic he was being given or something, and now that he's no longer taking that, he'll get better? Or is it something that has done permanent damage?
And it's very weird that like he was silent and quiet and like not really taking part in anything, and then suddenly he finds out about the marriage and he's like getting his son whipped. I'm very much like, what's gone on? What made him have this bit of a break? What, like, I'm more interested in to see what exactly is happening there.
Yeah, because wasn't he? Yeah, because wasn't he as well? He wasn't someone who was like a big believer, and then all of a sudden he's now intrigued by fate and stars and the way things are planning out and like futures. And you've gone against this god, you've gone against this, you've gone against this timeline and thing, you've gone against this prophecy, and that seems to have come out of nowhere for the king. So there's got to be something there that's just clicked, or someone that's done something that's make him so obsessive.
But it also like kind of made like his little creepy dude was like that. Like, he seemed to be like the I can't remember his name, and I don't really care about his name. All the dude got thrown into prison.
Yeah,
like I said, he seemed very much like the dude who's like whispering in his ear, who was thinking it. So like, all I'm thinking is, what is he been like feeding him literally and like mentally, and like, because even like the stuff that he said, and I can't remember it off the top of my head right now, but the stuff that the king said in that one scene that we had, where like there's more to that story there's more to that story, and I'm interested in that more than I am anything else, because like Lynn's story is interesting. I'm very, very curious what's going to happen with the goddess thing. Like, don't get me wrong, like I'm very much like that's going to be an interesting one to do. Kel, like, don't get me wrong, I will read his story. I'm not bothered by it.
That did him poison himself more to get people to do what he wants.
Well, it's also like, because like the fact that he went to this creepy dude, because this creepy dude, like honestly, it's the only person that I can kind of like remember properly, and it's hilarious because I can't remember his name. This creepy dude was like, he went to visit him in the prison as Connor, and the dude was like, your sword catcher is going to betray you, and I'm like, one, how do you know that? And two, like, why? What? Like, what? And like, so this creepy dude knows more than we know, and I want more from the dude, and I want more from the king.
And the thing is, magic clearly not as gone as people think it is, because she has that stone. Like Lynn has that stone. It helped her heal Kel and Connor more than she should have been able to. And obviously magic is supposed to be gone, and they're not allowed to do magic. So why are you laughing?
Because I remember that I never told you that it reminded me of Craven Edge. It's a Critical Role thing, I'm sorry.
It just talks to her.
Yeah. It's just a little inanimate object that's not as inanimate as you think. And why is it talking to her?
And only she can hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that all comes about. But yeah, the creepy dude whose name I also can't remember, he's clearly got some sort of magic. Like, otherwise, how did he know about? Or he just has some really good spies.
Which
it could just be a spy has just said Kel was seen with a ragpicker king, and he's automatically thinking Kel is betraying Connor. So it could just be something as innocent as that.
It doesn't feel like that.
No, it doesn't. Not with the way he's obviously been whispering in like the king's ear all these years and giving him who knows what.
And also, like, the vibe that I got from it, and this is my personal vibe, more than anything else. I shouldn't have said that because that sounds weird. But like the vibe I got was like the fact that he does look at stars, and he does look into like the future and this, that, and the other. That it very, very much felt like it was almost a prophecy, not a prophecy, predicting. Like he's seen it happen. That's the vibe I got from it.
Yeah,
and that's really weird.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the second book when we get it in about 10 years, probably.
Yeah. I just hope it makes a bit more sense than this one, because I was messaging you throughout reading this book, Becca, and every time I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm really confused. I still don't understand what's happening. I think I know where the story's going, but at the same time, I don't know. And then I finished the book and I was like, I don't know what I've just read.
I feel like it, and as well, I think because it's a brand new world, it very much had to set everything up. And you always have a bit of a struggle with that, especially for someone who is such a prolific author. Like, let's be real, because Cassidy Clare has done loads, but because she's written all of it in one world, and yes, she's had to look into a lot of things like Victorian England and stuff like that. Like she's had to like do that research. But she's played in the same sandbox for a long time, and she's made like an incredibly like intricate story in that one sandbox. So now to have this blank sandbox, to having to build this world up again, it is very difficult, because it's like, well, I haven't finished all of the Cassandra Clare books, but I know if I was to pick up any of the Shadowhunter ones, if I picked up like the Malik ones, or I picked up Chain of Gold, I know where I am. I know what to expect. Yeah. Whereas I think going this one, it's very difficult to kind of just jump into it and be like, okay, cool. I'm in a brand new world, and she set up a completely new world, and now I have to get used to this world and understand that it's not going to be like this, and it's not going to be like that. Like, not that I'm saying that I was expecting anything from it, because I knew it was going in that it was going to be a new world, but I do. She's never had to really do that as much, and I think that's a difficult thing to do.
Even the Magisterium series that she did with Holly Black is set in our world as well. Yeah. So, like, very much written in our world. This is very much a new thing for her, because obviously Magisterium was middle grade / young YA.
Yeah.
Shadowhunters is YA, and then this is very adult. So it is very, very different.
I just heard she's gone. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. That's just all I was going to say.
You can go, it's fine.
No, I just said, and it's high fantasy. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah. My only point is I'm just worried she's like put too much into it. She's tried to make this very, very, very intricate, very kind of this is happening, this is happening, this is happening world. And I worry that she's put too much into it to fully absorb everything that actually makes a difference to the story. Because that's why I found it really, really hard. Because I'd be like, right, I've learned all about this. That's cool. I get that. And then you were dumped with another thing you had to learn. And then you had to go back and learn even more about the first thing you just learned about. And I feel like even like the little things before the chapters is hinting at something else going on. And I felt like there's too much information being put down and it's not going anywhere yet. And it's going to be really hard until I reread this series after it's all come out for it to all connect.
But I feel like you get that with every fantasy book.
Yeah.
Like even like Throne of Glass, Nevernight, Jade City, I'm reading that and it's having to set up a world that I don't entirely know. And like every fantasy book that you pick up, sometimes they're a bit easier because they're based on something familiar. But I feel like every time you jump into a new fantasy world, even by like a favorite author, you go, okay, cool. Now I have to relearn things because it's not like a series previous.
I'll be interested to have a conversation with someone who reads Swordcatcher that has never read a Cassie book before.
Yeah.
And see how they get along with it. But I don't know many people that have not read Cassie's books before.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to like have a conversation with someone that hasn't, because I'd like to see it from their point of view, see how they connect with it. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I'm glad you both are interested in reading the second book, because that means you don't hate it.
I always said I didn't hate it. I don't think it's not a favorite.
No, I'm just being dramatic.
Well, you did it. No, I'm joking. But I also said, I said this to Becca at least, and I feel like I should say it on here as well. I think that I've lost a lot of love with Cassie from me very much. Sorry, Becca. Very much not liking Queen of Air and Darkness, and I feel like that's a lot of her book, because I'm not going to go into it because I'm not going to upset you. But I had a lot of issues with Queen of Air and Darkness, and I feel as if that's why I haven't picked up another Cassie book since.
I had a lot of tissues with Queen of Air and Darkness.
See, I think that's also been my issue, Ash, as well. Is it's partly why I've not finished the last 2 books that I need to read. Because Queen of Air and Darkness, there was a lot of things that happened in Queen of Air and Darkness that I just went, really? And yeah, it's kind of the writing and me seem to have fallen out again.
Yeah, we're not gonna. Yeah, that's why we're not gonna bash it, because don't yuck someone's yum. But yeah, I feel as if like I was hesitant to pick up anything else by Cassie, and I think my hesitation kind of brought the rating down a bit, because I was like, but like,
but it's not this, but it's not that.
Yeah, like I had all of these issues with this book, And I'm not going to harp on about it, I promise. But one of my issues was I felt like Queen of Our Darkness did not have to be as big as it was.
Yeah, that was my top comment, was that size.
Sorry, Becca, I know that you love it, and I know that you don't think that it should be any smaller.
But we are all entitled to our opinions.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that you think that, and you're entitled to your opinion. But I think one of the things is, knowing this was a chunky book, I had a lot of trepidation of like, does it need to be this big? I will say I do think that this book needed to be as big as it was, because obviously you're building this world.
Yeah.
And
it's very different with adult fantasy. Adult fantasies do tend to be a little bit chunkier because there's a lot more to, especially high fantasy, where it's a brand new world. Whereas with Shadowhunters, I do understand. I just don't agree.
You're entitled not to agree. Look at us being able to like agree with other people's opinion, but also disagree.
How dare you? I'm kidding. No, I'm joking.
I pressed the wrong thing. It's fine.
But yeah, I don't really have anything else. Yeah, I don't think either of you have anything else either.
I think I've said all I need to say.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I said that much, I'm not gonna lie.
Same, but I think I said everything I needed to say.
To be fair, sometimes when someone else mentions something, it like flicks a switch in your brain, and you're like, oh, actually. Especially if it's been a while since you read it.
I do think as well, when you love a book a bit more, there is more things you pick up, there's more things you like. Whereas when I think you've finished the book and gone, bloody hell, I've finally finished it, there's things you like, you just sort of like toss it out your mind. You're like, right, I'm done with it now. Put it to back burner.
I also think that, like, for someone who doesn't read as much, and then I've read so much in the past month, it's been a while since I read this. Sorry, Becca, I didn't realize you were drinking at that point. But I don't remember as much, because I read that, and then I read like another chunky book, and then I read another chunky book, and then I read another book, and I've read like 4 books since then, and I'm like, I don't know.
3 of us have read high fast since then as well.
I read Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, House of Flame and Shadow, and Inheritance since I read this.
Yeah.
I don't know what book I were on about at the beginning of this.
Fine, I made notes. I came with the notes.
It's all right. Your notes help me, because there's certain things of this book that apparently I completely missed.
Same.
I did feel like as I'm the host, I should really make notes as I go. And when I read this the first time, I did tab quite a lot. So then I did end up adding. I think about half of these tabs were from my first read, and the other half was from this read, which I wasn't expecting to tab that much, but I did. Great. But yeah, I think we're gonna leave it there, because I don't really have anything else. But thank you both for joining. The next live show will be when we eventually get a new Shadowhunters book, which she is writing the first Wicked Powers book. If you follow her on Instagram, she posted a picture from the writing retreat with Holly Black in the background, but it literally shows like 2 lines of the first
series I want. Is that the series I want? Okay, that's fine.
So yeah, that will most likely be the next live show we do, which will it's not going to be this year, let's be real. So yeah, I guess see you in the next one for By the Angel Along. I'm really sad because this is it now. Look, I've spent 2 years doing this read along. That is like my biggest commitment. Jesus. But anyway, thank you for joining. Bye.
Bye.